Fable is finally back, and gamers all over the world are furious with the reveal because the majority of them have never actually seen a woman in real life before. Me too. However, there is a Fable game which you can already play that many people hate. Fable 3, better known in English as Fable 3, is by far the most hated Fable game, but it also happens to be my favourite. I played it as a kid with one of my first ever internet friends, but he was last seen online 8 years ago, so he might be dead now. My mum always thought it was an older guy pretending to be a kid trying to groom me, but I reassured her I could never be so lucky. So, seeing Fable on the timeline again, it was time for me to answer the question, am I blinded by childhood nostalgia and memories with my potentially groomer internet friend, or is Fable 3 really that bad? We begin getting awoken by the blinding light of 8 AM, but I just want to cuddle the dog in my bed. No, your mum isn't in the bed with me, I literally just mean the border collie under the blanket. We're meeting with Lady Elise today, and my riz would be too high in these Supima cotton pyjamas, so I've got to throw on a new outfit while old matey just watches me get changed. Nice. We venture onto the castle grounds because I'm a prince, which basically means I have an 89% increased chance to become a nonce or abandon my family to live my life in peace with my wife. Somehow there are people out there who think the latter is worse. I find Elise waiting for me, and my dog starts going at her with tongue before we can even get a word in. Once he's done, we get a kiss and walk back to the castle holding hands. How cute, apart from when my dog gets in the middle and tries to break us up. Homie might actually be trying to steal her from me, but it's okay, I have experience in this. Back in school, me and my boy both liked the same girl, so we had to come to a compromise. He got with her, and I continued to be single. I pop over to combat training with my boy Walter, but not before I can endorse this guy, who's telling us that this video is sponsored by Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is a free-to-start MMORPG that is focused on gameplay. What I love most about it is that it focuses on gameplay rather than grinding. Guild Wars 2 understands we don't all have 100 hours a week to sink into an MMO. We have lives. I mean, I don't, but you guys might. I also adore that it's your story. The core game's story is driven by your character choices. Then the game's expansions continue to tell the story of the world. The newest expansion, Secrets of the Obscure, releases on August 22nd. This will bring you more flexibility in the combat style with several potent system updates at launch. Speaking of expansions, Guild Wars 2 doesn't keep you in the dark about when the next update will be. There is a new expansion model with quarterly content releases across the span of a year, so you know there will always be something fresh to keep you coming back. Well, what other gameplay elements are there? Mounts are a huge focus in Guild Wars 2. Flying mounts are very popular among players, because it offers a chance to see Tyria like never before, flying above the skies with a winged sky scale mount. Guild Wars 2 has been around for a long time, and it's still getting better with every update. Now is as good a chance as any to jump in. Click the link in the description to pre-purchase now and secure exclusive rewards, an arcane Spellweaver's hat skin and an eagle eye weapon of your choice, and the Demon Hunter title and a max level boost. Thank you Guild Wars 2 for sponsoring this video. I smashed the combat training, not because of my skill, but because the combat is just spamming X a bunch of times, until Elise tells us we have to come see what my brother the king is up to. He's planning on killing a load of innocent civilians rioting outside because he's an evil boy and we have to stand up to him. Not because it's the morally correct thing to do, but because Elise is pressuring us to stop him. Look at that. A bored rich white woman getting involved in something that's none of her business. Anyway, because we dared stand up to my brother, he punishes us by having us make a terrible decision. We either sacrifice a big group of innocent people, or we sacrifice Elise. Of course, I choose the innocent people, because none of them are going to give me sloppy seconds from my own dog. My brother has really taken things too far, so that night we sneak out with Walter and my butler Jasper, committing treason against the king, because we must start a rebellion to stop his maddening reign. Before we leave the castle grounds, Walter takes me down into the underground, and I'm worried he's going to ask me to shave his arse crack again. But no, he shows me something called a guild seal. This gives me the power to cast spells, so now I am the hero to save Albion from my own brother. We then proceed to do what anyone else would once they'd learn how to shoot fireballs, annihilate some harmless bats. Walter takes me to this poor village where we meet this funny looking guy with a huge moustache and size 4 feet. We need to persuade them to help us rebel against the king, but first Walt gives me some money so I can look more like a poor villager and less like a prince. Because of this guild seal, I can also now travel to this room at any point during the game, where Jasper is waiting for me. Once again, the slick dog has set up a changing room for me here. This man enjoys seeing me naked more than Bear Grylls enjoys drinking his own bodily fluids. So to get the village on my side, I had to do a few tasks for them, the first of which involved finding one of my father's old treasures in a dungeon library in the town of Brightwall. Here I would finally be equipped with a giant hammer that I renamed to White Lives Matter, as I'll be taking a lot of white lives with it. I also got a pistol, which I named Backshot, and while I was here, I named my dog Bill Cosby, because bro is always sleeping. Now finally let out into the world with freewheeling skill and a couple of weapons, it takes about 6 seconds before I start committing murder on the suffering residents of Brightwall. However, in Fable 3, rather than being sent to prison for your crimes, you instead just have to bake a few pies. Yes, you may have just killed a loving mother of 4, but if you can bake a light, flaky pie crust, all will be forgiven. Better yet, if you keep slapping out pie crusts, you can actually make money. So technically, yes, you can make money from murder in Fable 3, which easily makes this the top 5 games of all time. Speaking of making money, you can actually completely break the economy in this game. All you have to do is make enough pies, or entertain the locals with song and dance, until you can afford a house. You then buy a house, repair it, and rent it out for the highest possible price, which nets you income every 5 minutes. You repeat this for every property until you're the only homeowner left in Brightwall, because what does a struggling village need more than a podcast bro teaching low-effort passive income methods? You can also do this for businesses later in the game, so you can basically become the Disney of the Fable universe and monopolize everything. Once you're finished taking this village from first world poor to third world poor, we can once again continue with the main story. We have to take out a local camp of bandits, but we can't just waltz on in there looking how we do now. We need an outfit change. I'm thankful for this outfit change, because the headband makes my guy look like he's in his 5th week of chemo. We need a bandit fit, so we go to the local pub and find a passed out bandit upstairs. We swiftly remove all of his clothing and return him back to the exact same position he was in, only now he looks far more compromised due to his lack of clothing and tasteful G-string. I was even tempted by those sweet cheeks myself, but I had a bandit camp to break into. When I arrive, they just think I'm Jimmy, the lad whose clothing I just stole, and I don't even seem to mind when I take it upon myself to do a spot of gardening. One of these lads invites me over and asks me to do that thing I do, and here I have 2 options. Kiss him or fart on him. Of course I choose kiss, because who can resist a short balding man in his 40s who looks like he's on the Stellars at 10 AM in Spoons on a Thursday morning. So after a little gay activity and a rife old smooch, the man then throws up on my shoes, which is my bad. I didn't realise we were in the Middle East. Later in the camp, someone cops onto the fact that I am indeed an imposter, and the whole camp starts trying to kill me. This reminds me of a time when me and my mate went to a Halloween party dressed up as Power Rangers. I went as the red one, and he went as the pink one, because he's only 5'6" and has a dumpy, so it was loyal to the source material. Hours go by, the drinks are flowing, and I haven't seen my boy since we arrived. Later that night, I find this pink Power Ranger, who I think is incredibly hot, so we sneak off into a room and have a night to remember. The next morning, I woke up to realise that in my drunken state, I'd made a huge mistake. The pink Power Ranger was actually a 10 out of 10 baddie, and not my boy, so I was hugely disappointed. Anyway, I find the bandit leader, and we have a fight that lasts way too long for what it is. In the end, I have the option to spare him or kill him, but I choose to spare him, because if you do that, you can rent out all these small bandit homes, and I play Fable for the real estate roleplay, not to kill people. With the bandits dealt with, I can now get out of this uncomfortable clothing and into something with a lot more freedom to move around, my boxer shorts. However, like me with the pink Power Ranger, this doesn't last that long, as now I need to help out some of the locals around Brightwall, the first of which requires me to dress up as a chicken. No, I'm not becoming a male stripper, I'm actually just rounding up chickens. You see, a husband and a wife had a disagreement, as the wife thinks the chickens should be free, but the husband wants to turn them into Popeye's chicken sandwiches. The chickens are now all over Brightwall, causing mayhem, mugging the locals, smoking weed, and participating in antisocial behaviour. These chickens are chavs, so basically I just walk around the village screaming my tits off, acting like a chicken mother, until my babies flocked to me for safety. Once I had brought the gaggle of roadman chickens back to their rightful owners, we had a conversation about the future of these bargain bucket boys. I could free the chickens for the wife and render the last 15 minutes dressed up as a chicken, sweating my gooch off pointless, or let the husband Kurt Cobain them. I let hubby whip out the shotgun, because I thought it would be funnier for content, but I actually just ended up feeling really bad for the poor little sots. The next villager needed me to find her missing child, because rather than actively look for her, she was just standing here twiddling her thumbs. Somehow the child wandered off into a cave, and yet she's wondering why her dad left her. This is probably the only situation where walking off with a man in a chicken outfit is the safer option. I return the child to her mother, and she's absolutely devastated, because she was hoping to drag this out for years and waste police resources searching for an obviously dead child, then publish a book about it years later to cash in on the publicity. Righty ho, you little hoes. Up next, I was searching for a long lost play. It was quite simple actually what I had to do. I just got sucked off by a book, dumped into an afterlife play, acted my heart out on multiple occasions, smashed every role like I'm Leonardo can't date a woman over 25, and then was rewarded with the long lost play. Finally, the village of Brightwall could see this long lost masterpiece. But never mind, because the thing bombed harder than a coastal Japanese city on August 6th in 1945. So all of the villagers now hate me because of the extortionate rent prices I was charging. So what did I do to fix this? I bought another house, kicked out a struggling family and put it up for even higher rent than before. After a good night's rest, I woke up ready to seize the day, and I made my way to the racetrack for a good day of gambling. No, it's not horse racing. That's ethically wrong. Those turny men are forced to ride horses, and if they lose, they get taken out back and blasted with a shotgun. Those poor men, they can't even grow to 5 foot tall, and if they don't win the race, they get euthanized. We're actually betting on chickens, and I make the smart play of gambling literally all of my life savings on the chicken with the worst odds to win. My boy finished second, which is not what you want in this kind of race, and I lost all of my money, financially bankrupt by chicken. I feel like an obese KFC addict. Now I was poor, I was truly one of the villagers, and I was finally accepted as one of their own. They agreed to help me throw over the king and end his reign. We even signed a super official Xbox 360 contract, so this shit is for life. I had become attached to the village of Brightwall and fucking over their residents with my rent prices. So I wanted to settle here. I needed a wife. I do what anyone should when seeking out a life partner. Head over to the boozer and wife up the first woman I set eyes on. Well, it wasn't actually that simple. First I had to make her like me by dancing with her and then delivering packages for her. I'm not really sure why being Amazon Prime made her like me, but hey, I wasn't going to complain about getting in some extra cardio. I just had to repeat this a few times, dancing with her and delivering her packages whenever she asked, and finally, we become friends. I could now begin the process of making her fall in love with me by playing patty cake and not missing a beat. This man's riz is unstoppable. I could also tickle her, you know, like friends do, or maybe a handsy cousin who forgets your mums or sisters. After all this, we could finally go out on our first date, where I held her hand all the way to a scenic lake, apart from the sections where I started running ahead of her, because, you know, I just had to make sure that I could beat her in a foot race before I wifed her up. We share our first kiss by the lake and officially are now boyfriend and girlfriend. Now we could get married, and I thought what better spot than the boozer where we first met just 2 minutes ago, but I forgot a huge part of proposing, a ring. I had no money to buy one thanks to losing it all on the chickens, so I would have to wait until rent is due. However, as if by some divine intervention, I was on a quest with Walter when I decided to go off in a random direction. I found a chest, and inside the chest was none other than a wedding ring. It was destiny. It was meant to be, and as soon as I got back, I proposed. We had a beautiful wedding on the bridge. We needed a house to move into together, so I evicted some of my tenants and threw them onto the street, so we had a family home. Maybe it was even time for us to start a family of our own. Except, just kidding, I killed her and then put the house up for extortionate rent. I love you all, hugs, kisses, be sure to think of Sean the next time that you have a shower as thanks for editing this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.